Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to Daily Drop-In, where we are live every single morning, Monday through Friday, to talk shop and share some positivity. We have some good news for you. There's an epic theme this week, and I'm joined by the one and only Katie Miglin. So you know it's going to be a good conversation with, a little bit of fun banter. Who knows?
Yep.
Make sure that you fill up your cup of coffee. You're definitely going to want it for this morning's conversation. And feel free to participate in the comments. We always love to see your ideas, your thoughts, let's be honest, green hearts, all the emojis. That's why we're here. It keeps us going every single morning. So we'll be right back as you prepare mentally to get ready for your day. Good morning. Good morning. Happy daily drop-in. Katie, it's so nice to start my morning with you. How are you?
I'm good. It's Thursday, I think, but Monday is throwing me off. So
I know a lot of teachers had Monday off for Labor Day. It's Thursday today, September 9th, in case anybody needed that update. Happy Thursday.
I did. Yeah. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to kind of talk shop. And, every day is a better day when you get to start it with Rae Hewart. So
Hey, there you go. You're so sweet. I love when we're live all together. It's so good. I do like cheers. Like I really enjoy spending my morning coffee with you. So this is like such a perk. We have a ton of people joining in this morning. You're a very familiar face, Katie. I think people see that you're live for Daily Drop-In and they're like, oh wait, if Katie Miglin is going to be here, it's going to be good dialogue. If people haven't connected with you, which seems difficult at this point, but say for example, they're brand new to the Teach Better family. What do you do? How are you involved with the team? Tell us all the things.
So I am a 7th grade math teacher in Central Illinois. That's what I do during the day. And then I also am the online events coordinator for the Teach Better team, which really just means I do all kinds of things. I do anything in the online world.
You say that, but I think one of the biggest projects that you are facilitating right now is not in the online world.
It is not, no, and it's going to be kind of exciting. I am really kind of working on the conference, which I am super pumped about.
So do we need to change your title? Because is your title online events coordinator or just events coordinator?
It is online events coordinator, and the conference is in person. So I think there might be a title change coming soon.
I definitely feel like we can't even move forward. We are officially doing a petition to change that title because you run all of our 12-hour lives. You're running the Teach Better conference. Like you're the chick to know if you want the inside scoop on like things that we keep very secretive. Like we keep 12-hour very secretive. We keep Teach Better conference very secretive. You're like the one that people should kidnap and get all the information out of. Not that I'm scared.
I was going to say, I feel like you just set me up for kind of a dangerous future. But yeah, I mean, I'm super pumped about it.
That'd be cool. No, I mean, to be fair, I don't feel like they need to go to the extreme to kidnapping you. We'll just spill all the secrets here, guys. Just ask nicely in the comments, say please, and we got you. But
yeah, I work for really good emojis. So just like any creativity that you can throw there, I'm happy to spill some good stuff.
I do have to say, sometimes like somebody is being super, super, super gracious and they'll like send me a $5 like coffee card, like of some sort. And I have to say, I'm a sucker for like a cup of coffee. Like if you are around me or send me a means to get a coffee, I mean, I'll essentially give you all my information, social security number, credit card. You just let me know what you need.
I 100% agree. Like, it's funny. There's something to be said about like a $5 Starbucks gift card. I don't know why, because it's not even like, I mean, a $5 Starbucks gift card is great. Don't get me wrong, but most drinks are more than $5.
I know.
So it's like, but I'm such a sucker for it too. Like, yeah, I will do whatever you need me to do if at the end of the day I get just a gift card. And I'm the same way.
I will say for all of you listening, if you are on our email list, and if you're not, by the way, you should join our Teach Better email list because we send stuff out. But there was a big push that I did over the summer to join my Just Because list. And I have enjoyed sending like $5 gift cards here and there to random people that volunteered to be on that list. So it's kind of fun. I should do that again today at some point. Like send out like 5 or 6 batches of fun, goofy stuff.
I'm sorry. This is going to be awkward, but I don't think that I got one of those. So,
Katie, it's a long list. People responded. They needed to give me their name, their email address, and their home address because I was either going to email them something or physically send them something. I don't think you sent me any of that information.
You have all that information.
That might be true. I have been to your home before too, so I could just like.
You have. Yeah, so you could just hand deliver it if you decided. So, I'm not hurt. I'm just really disappointed. So
let's move on from this. Good morning, everybody. Happy daily drop-in. We're so excited that you're here.
Good morning. This turned sour quickly. I just want that to be
I'm so sorry that I turned this into a terrible conversation. I want to formally apologize to our team. It is 6:06 Central Time. You know that we go live every single morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. Katie, there's a lot to talk about today. And I don't necessarily want to focus too much on the fact that I'm been a bad friend to you and not giving you coffee. I thought maybe we transition. We have a celebration for today. We have a good news story for today. And the theme this week is all about the small things we can do to not just be a strong educator in the classroom serving students, but actually being a strong educator, a good staff member in our building. And I thought that you and I could have been chatting about that because we used to work in the same building. And there's a lot of things that you do that I've watched you do that definitely help with the culture of the building. So are we ready to transition into celebrations first and foremost?
Let's do it. Let's celebrate.
I feel like we should all take a deep breath in. Here we go. All right, you guys know how this segment works. This is our good news segment where we're able to share celebrations, but also able to share some good news. Katie, are you in the mood to start with celebrations of goofy holidays or good news story? Which one do you want to start with?
Well, this is exactly what I do for my bell ringer every day. I do both of those things. So I usually start with like happy whatever random day it is.
Okay.
So let's start with that.
Okay, before I do that, now I'm going to segue. How are you doing this in your classroom? Can you tell me logistically? Because that is so cool to hear that you're doing something similar with your students. So how are you doing that? Give me the logistics.
So on my board, when kids walk in, it's just like organized on the screen and it's like, what do you need to be doing right now? So it's like whatever, if they need to turn something in, get something, get their space settled. And then it's what's the agenda? And then the last 2 pieces of the screen are happy, like yesterday was ampersand day. And then I have a good news story. And so I teach my first section, I teach math all day, but my first section is writing. So that last column is what's the good news story. And we talk about it and sometimes they'll write about it. Sometimes we just kind of talk about like the feel goods that start our day, but so I just have it up every day just to kind of start with some positivity. So
I have to say there seems to be so many holidays every day that we can all just celebrate. Because on Daily Drop-In yesterday, we celebrated International Literacy Day, but I didn't have ampersand day. Like I feel like I was robbed of an opportunity to celebrate. So
yeah, it is funny. There's literally like a day for everything. Like I think there's like hard shell taco day and then also soft shell taco day. Why do we need separate days? I don't get it.
What do you mean? Why do we need separate days? Thank goodness we have separate days. That's 2 opportunities to eat tacos.
You're right. I've completely looked at this wrong. You're right.
Yeah. Where's your focus? Where's your
It's early. It's early. I'm sorry. It's before 7 a.m. My brain isn't fully functioning. I'll just sit here, listen to your story and drink my coffee. It'll be fine.
Terrible. Also, we're doing terrible acknowledging the comments. I apologize, guys.
Yes.
It's so good to see you this morning. It's a lot to juggle bright and early. There's some good mornings. We have No Millie here saying good morning. So good to see all of you back to school. I love it. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. I love this. It's so good.
Yes, this
This one I feel like is very important. I feel like I need to set an alarm or something this is escalating quickly, sharing student social security numbers, kidnapping, and now we're talking about home addresses. Yep, that is where we've been so far today. So glad you guys are keeping up. And definitely just in a goofy spot this morning. But maybe we'll transition here. So yesterday was International Literacy Day, which, you know, really good. I saw a lot of celebrations, especially on Instagram stories. There's a lot of teachers sharing about today. Now we're kind of like flipping content. It's International Sudoku Day.
Ooh,
seemed cool.
Yeah,
so, I love that. I feel like that's something that you could do in any classroom, but especially a math classroom. And you teach both writing and math, so both these days kind of celebrate with your kids.
You know what's funny is I actually am working on a giant Sudoku board in my room right now. I literally have the pieces. I honestly almost posted a picture yesterday because my desk is a hot mess, which you know is not like me at all. But I have all these numbers and stuff. I got it from Rae Katie. She has a template out there and it's awesome. And yeah, it's you just make a big wall and it gives you the pieces so that kids can manipulate it. So I'm super pumped. I will post pictures once it's all done.
Yeah, wait, you have to post pictures. And if you're willing, we'd like to see it when it's not done and when it is done, because this seems, so you're telling me that there's a board that you're manipulating, a Sudoku board. So it's not like you're writing in the numbers. There's like pieces you're moving.
Yeah. So she has it all. She has different fonts. You print the grid part, you know, the whatever squares.
Boxes,
Yep. And then she has it, she tells you like, so like I was printing 6 and laminating those, and it says like print 6 in 2 white pages and 2 colored pages, because you will put up the white ones. So that's like the game, and then the kids manipulate the colors. And there's little, like, you just put them in little pockets so the kids can decide. And she has probably, I don't know, a lot of different board options. Like she has it all. So it's so easy. It's just now like the time of laminating and putting it up and stuff like that. So I'm really, really excited. And I'm hoping it's a fun thing, kind of like a brain break, or just to kind of get their, brain moving. So yeah.
Well, and I love those brain break opportunities that can be a part of just like the day-to-day culture of your classroom.
Exactly.
Something where you're like, let's take a brain break right this moment. That opportunity you can give students for them to choose and advocate for themselves. I need a brain break.
Right.
And you're giving them resources in their learning space to still do that and use their mind in a different way. That's so cool. I feel like I can't fully envision it. I would love to see a photo or have you share. I don't know what platform is best for you. Do you feel like you typically share most often on Instagram?
Probably like Instagram. Yeah. I've tried to get better at posting pictures on Twitter. I'm not always great about that, but especially with some of the stuff I've been doing. So
definitely cool to share. I would love to see what that looks like. And I know you have a bunch of people that you really like to check out on Teachers Pay Teachers and use those resources. So I always like to hear what resources people enjoy.
Right.
There's so much out there. So having those key people that like really produce good products that you really enjoy interacting with, like that's super cool. So the news story for today is a little bit of a historical twist, which I thought would be a cool addition for us. This is a good news in history segment, which I thought was going to be just kind of like a fun fact to discuss, like what happened this day in history. So it says, what's in a name? Inspiration, one would hope. 230 years ago, the America's capital was named for her beloved first president, George Washington. D.C. became a famous worldwide for its awe-invoking monuments laid in the community. So they're going through and talking about how the George Washington Memorial was named 230 years ago. It says 15 years earlier on the same day, the Congress officially named the nation, which was a really cool fun fact. And it goes actually through all the different things that happened on this day within history. So there's been a number of different big moments, but one that we can celebrate today is that the George Washington Memorial was actually named. And I didn't know this, but it's surrounded by museums. Like I think I've been to DC. I know I've been to DC before, but not necessarily to acknowledge that all the museums that surround the George Washington Memorial are free admission. So it's kind of this.
Oh, I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that the design, it's going through like the design structure of the monument. The design was not only the physical structure, but actually the blocks around the structure as well, which was very cool. So for those of you that can use that to spark some conversation with students, there's a whole article on goodnewsnetwork.org that kind of goes through the moments in history, especially with this monument. But 230 years ago, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is super crazy. And I know I've been to DC. You know, I did the typical 8th grade trip, which I know a lot of our personal students are kind of getting ready for that, you know, starting to sign up. But I mean, you know, it's like that was a trip where it was led. You know, I followed the group. So yeah, that's super cool to be able to like experience all that for free.
No, I totally agree. And I think that was last time I was in DC too. I think I went in 8th grade, and I don't know that I ever have been back. There is a conference that I'm excited to be in attendance for, hopefully next year in DC, that has an affiliation with the nonprofit that I support. So I might head that way next summer. But there's a lot of different beautiful museums, monuments, I mean, everything in between in DC. I'd love to go again as an adult and actually explore and take some different appreciation than I did as a student.
Right, exactly. You know, in 8th grade, I'm sure my priorities were a little different than they would be now. So I think it would be really cool to just kind of experience that. And yeah.
For all of those art lovers out there, there's also a number of different art exhibits in DC that are like very acclaimed. Like Mark Rothko has an exhibit where there's 3 featured paintings that I'm dying to see. That's kind of a bucket list item, as I want to go to that Mark Rothko featured exhibit, and that's in DC. So I'm telling you, we should make a list. Maybe, Katie, we should go together.
I agree. I think so. Teach Better Team, make that happen.
Dave Schmidt was commenting saying, hey, ladies, just landed in DC yesterday. Flew over all the monuments, so sobering. Dave, what are you doing in DC? What's going on?
Yeah, and how like fitting is that? Thanks, Dave, for flying there so that we'd have something to talk about today.
We appreciate that, Dave. If there's any way that you could take a picture of the George Washington monument, we'd really appreciate that. That was named 230 years ago. We would really love if you could take a photo representing the Teach Better family celebrating this moment in history. Very cool.
Wow, that'd be super cool.
Yeah. Katie, I know that we have a number of things we could talk about in history, especially for this week, especially with the 20th anniversary of 9/11 coming up on Saturday. However, I do want to make sure we also touch on our theme, our topic for the week, because we are constantly evaluating the work we're doing as teachers and how that also translates to being strong educators within the whole ecosystem of our school. So we're in transition here really quick. And if we're able to touch back on that 9/11 element, we will. Otherwise, I do want to make sure that we get to that tomorrow for all of you tuning into Daily Drop-In, to make sure that we are celebrating all the different elements of the week to ensure that we are supporting you not only as an educator, but also with the work you can do with students. Katie, are you ready to transition to our brainstorm bank conversation?
Let's do it.
All right. No news here. You guys know how this works. Brainstorm Bank is a segment we do every single day, Monday through Friday, usually around this minute mark. It'll actually be changing next week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We are changing it up, and we'll be doing Brainstorm Bank before our good news segment, really to make sure that we're hitting that full hour, giving you a dynamic experience of not only discussion through educational dialogue, but also through those good news, fun stories that we're able to bring in. So if you are somebody who always likes to tune in for Brainstorm Bank, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, it will be our second segment. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's actually going to kick off our conversation. So please keep an eye out. Plan your alarms accordingly. Katie, Brainstorm Bank is a time where we are obviously taking questions live. It's an intentional moment where we're like, hey, do you need anything? But we also have a theme every single week. And this theme is something that is hard to explain, but really important. Can you give me your thoughts on this concept of good teacher versus good staff member?
Well, I think it really comes down to, you know, the definition of like an educator. And yes, you're a teacher in the walls of your classroom or whatever space you teach in, but it's more than that. And I think this is something I'm pretty passionate about because I am a true believer that it takes a village. And I know that saying oftentimes is around parenting, which is very true. But I think it also is true in a school, and you can't have, you can be a really great teacher, but for me, I only have kids for like 45 minutes. And then those kids leave. And I think you can do whatever you want in those 45 minutes, but that's just a snapshot of the whole day. And so it's, how are you contributing to the bigger picture? And how are you contributing to that school as a whole, and how, you can all work together to achieve the common goal?
Yeah, I think that the concept of evaluating the definition of a teacher is a wormhole of a conversation. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
truly, how many of us got into this profession really envisioning that moment where you were a student sitting in a desk facing the board in front of you, and there was an adult standing in front of you discussing something and maybe showing you a visual of a topic, right? And
Yep.
that was kind of the vision of a teacher. Now we hope for that image to be the minority in what a classroom looks like. A classroom as a holistic learning environment looks so different, right? And in a perfect world, a classroom is loud and dynamic and has multiple modalities being used, and students are facing all different ways. Obviously, safety first with COVID, but like this dynamic element of like collaboration being a focus and everything else. Now we're kind of layering in this additional conversation of, yes, but does a teacher only do work within those four walls, or is it bigger than the four walls of the classroom?
Well, and I think too, acknowledging that students are more than just a learner in a school. They're explorers, they're scientists. They have so many different elements to them. And so to me, I'm like, a teacher can teach specific lessons and can teach specific things, but how are we leveraging them in other areas, and how are we contributing to them becoming just just a person, just a contributing member of society? And it's you have to kind of work as a staff. And I think the first few years you are really focused on what's happening in the four walls of your room, and that's totally understandable. But once you kind of get comfortable, and for lack of a better phrase, you kind of start knowing what you're doing. What are you doing with your time, and how are you contributing to students' success in other ways? And I think there's always lots of ways to get involved, and every school and every district looks different. But it's that passion of like, okay, you care about students. That's what got you into education. But now what are you doing with that passion? Because I'm going to guess you have more passion than the one or two subjects, or the few subjects that you teach.
Yeah, it's interesting. Andrea was live with us yesterday for Daily Drop-In, and she kind of got into the dialogue of what are the clubs that you can either sit in on and be a supporter of, that you can facilitate and be a leader within. We kind of got into those kind of orchestrated environments that you can not only get involved in, but also the appropriate ways to get involved. That was a real big focus of yesterday's conversation. If you didn't join us yesterday, please head over to the multiple places that you can find Daily Drop-In after the fact, one of which is obviously the Teach Better Talk podcast. You can listen to the conversation there. But this is kind of interesting because you can actually contribute to the whole school environment simply by being present in hallways, by greeting, your neighbor differently. Those are less formal opportunities, but still contributing to that same common goal as well.
And I've seen it all year. I know we've only been back for a few weeks, but in our building, we have arrows that are, direct students down for COVID, for safety. And our kind of the teachers that were in our general area, Rae, where you used to be, we kind of talked, and, we noticed it was a constant problem, kids using the wrong way, which was a safety concern. But it took all of us coming together to send the same message to the students in our area, so that we were on the same page. And I felt like it was early on, we identified that as a problem, and we worked together. Now, that's not something that necessarily, you like learn in college, or there's no textbook lesson about that, but it's like, you saw the problem, you worked with staff members to achieve, the common goal and to fix the problem.
Well, and that's a perfect example. I want to dive into that more, because I think that sometimes we talk about concepts on Daily Drop-In that are big changes, and that is really not the focus of this week. I think that was a fear I had when I saw this week's theme, is I'm like, this isn't going to be another thing on teachers' to-do list. That's actually the opposite of what we're looking for. what are the teeny tiny things that you can do that for you might be just a smidgen of effort, but might have a huge impact on that greater community. So you're talking about, and I'm just trying to set the framework for what your space looks like in that building that you work in currently. There are pods. So there's like a way to enter a pod, and then there's actually a different door to exit the pod with how they're doing the COVID protocol. And it's kind of like a circle, right? It kind of looks like a track in some capacity where it's like you can go around this whole circle. And you're just talking about the teachers kind of like stepping outside their classroom, talking to one another kind of in that horseshoe, finding something that they want adjusted, and then not only being present for those moments for reteaching, but also like sharing the same message in just general conversation throughout the day with students, mentioning that this problem needs to be solved in some way.
Right.
That's just a minor adjustment.
Right. And it took 2 minutes, and I'm super lucky. I'm very blessed with staff that I work with. I feel like everyone has always that common goal, and from being in our building, everyone's looking to achieve the same thing. And so it took about 5 minutes at most. And now we know, like, everyone agrees that the kids do need to follow the arrows. That isn't a last year thing. And I feel like it's just made it smoother, and the kids are starting to get used to it. And what I like, and, I say this kind of jokingly, but I like that I'm not the only bad guy. I'm a rule follower to an extent. So to me, I'm like, the arrows are there, so let's follow them. But now we're all kind of saying the same thing. And it's not coming to the students like, oh, that's a crabby teacher. It's no, that's the rule, and let's just enforce it and kind of move on. So it's nice that was a quick thing and it's fixed. And that happens, all the time, but it's being intentional. You have to make the choice to have that conversation.
So I want to ask some silly questions, which might just be, a direction that I feel like we need to go. And maybe for our viewers right now, Daily Drop-In, they're like, oh, we already know how to do this. But silly question, Katie, the teachers that you work alongside, like within that pod experience, have worked really hard to build the culture of a lot of different things for you guys to build your friendship together. You all want what's best for students. You also care for one another. I know that community of educators in that building, which by the way is like a fourth of the building, right? It's not, the whole building's wonderful. We're talking about a little group that exists just for the base of this example. They've worked really hard to kind of create their own positive culture in that hallway specifically, as we're talking about one hallway. But if I'm a teacher working in a building saying, yes, you're right, like having a common goal is so important and we can work together in small ways. There's a comment in the comment right now saying it's a shift, not an add-on, right? How do we make these shifts together? How do you start going to somebody maybe for the first time to create these kind of norms, right? So I'm in a building right now, let's say that I'm seeing these arrows and I'm like, ooh, I really would love us all to work together on this. How do you start if you don't already have that relationship with colleagues to enforce a similar rule or direction? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think you have to just start. You have to just literally just say anything, and that's, I'm lucky enough. I'm friends with the first person I talked to. So it was an easier conversation, but it literally started with, hey, do you know if these arrows are for this year still? Are we still using these arrows? And it wasn't like, there was no warm and fuzzies. It was just, are we using these arrows or are they left over from last year? And then we were like, well, we don't know. Let's go talk to other people. And so we just transitioned the conversation. And then it was kind of a unanimous, yeah, I think we should enforce them. And so it was just starting the conversation.
Well, and Katie, I don't know if you caught this intentionally, but that is actually such a valuable suggestion you just provided, because the way that you approached that conversation was in seeking a solution. You were asking questions, you were exploring. So you weren't going to the staff member down the hall saying, hey, this rule needs to be enforced. I need you to help me enforce this. Can you get on board? And in the middle of transitions, step out to the hallway and tell students what they need to be doing. But you actually went up and said, hey, I'm curious. I'm exploring the answer. Yeah. You have the answer. Because if you're doing that in collaboration, now you're all seeking a solution rather than being told how to interact.
Yeah, I think it takes away some of the tension. And, I think I know that there were a few people who were like, I don't know. I don't know that I care, didn't have a strong feeling, but I think there was enough people that were like, no, I think it should be. Then that's what made it change. And but we had to have the conversation, because if we would have just all stood by our own doors and the kids just were just going wherever, I think it would have been a little bit more chaotic. But at the end of the day, after the conversation, we realized we all want the same thing. And, and I know this is like a small piece, but it could be, can we have, like, there's several of us by the end of the hallway, can someone walk to the main hallway every day? And it's just starting the conversation. And I think over time, then you get to know the people in your pod. And, I'm really lucky that our group, we call it pod parties, but we come out at the end of the day and we're all supervising the hallway. We're all watching kids, saying goodbye, but then we kind of stop. And after that, like, business part is done, it's, like, hey, how was your day? And yesterday there was about 5 of us, and someone's like, oh my gosh, in my 8th hour, I need help. Like, it's so cool how the relationships are built when all you're doing is starting with, the business aspect first.
I think that is a major takeaway. I would love to challenge our network as they're thinking about how they're starting their day, right? It's 7:30 Eastern right now, 6:30 Central currently. You have a full day ahead of you, and there's going to be 1.5 million things that you feel responsible for, that you want to make sure you're trying to achieve today. If you could put one element of your day in a question format to somebody else, right? Like going up and striving to be a learner, having somebody share their opinions or insight with you, that's such an easy, warm lead to fostering a relationship and being a problem solver in community with others. I don't know that I ask enough questions day to day to not just students, but like to my colleagues to foster those relationships. Dave Schmitto, who I know was in the comments earlier, is constantly asking questions. And that is a skill I need to be better at. Because sometimes when you're going to somebody, it's easier, it seems more efficient to be like, here's what I need done, right?
Yes.
But actually long term, that doesn't always have the same effect versus going and asking a question first.
And even getting to know people, I am not great. I know this might sound kind of surprising, but I'm not great at, like, introducing myself to complete strangers. Like, I'll say good morning, but I'm going to keep walking. I'm not. I'm very much like sticking to my list in my head of, like, what do I need to accomplish? But there was a staff member, I passed her every single day. And I was like, okay, I've passed her every day. She's pretty close to my room. So one day I literally was like, hey, did you email me yesterday about a student? And I knew she was an interventionist. And I honestly wasn't sure. I had gotten an email from a person I hadn't met before. And she was like, no, I'm not, but I'm such and such. And so we were able to start talking just simply from that. And I was like, oh, well, this kind of worked out, because I was really just wanting, I in my to-do list, I was like, I need to get information about this student. But at the end result, I met another staff member and I was able to, make a connection with her. And so I feel like, just starting with the question, we're all in the same field. And so if you continue to do that, and whether you're seeking information, seeking advice, seeking a common goal, I think over time you'll develop some pretty strong relationships.
Absolutely. No, I love that concept of kind of fostering this element of community, being a good staff member, kind of trying to get people to see a common goal and work together in that common goal. That camaraderie is a huge element of being a good, quote unquote, good staff member.
Right.
And it can start with you simply asking a lot of questions to better understand what people's common goals are, because maybe they're different. And oh, it's so interesting. We have a lot of comments coming in. I know we're going to say good morning to Debbie. Good to see you, Debbie. Good morning. Looks like Karen's jumping in. Karen is ordering her coffee, getting ready for the day. She just started back at school, I know, recently. So, Karen, we hope that you're having a wonderful Thursday morning. Cheers to your coffee friend. We love you. Good to see you. Andrea's jumping in and says, yes, that's one of my go-to strategies too, that concept of asking questions. Which sometimes it's hard to ask questions, but I'm telling you, I just think that it sends such a different message of how the conversation can go. So trying to figure out what questions to ask, I think is its own hurdle in and of itself. But maybe an element of being a good staff member is asking more questions. I mean, is that enough? I mean, obviously asking questions to get a common goal is wonderful, but is asking common questions just in general good to do to be a good staff member?
Yeah, but I think you have to have the right mindset. You have to be okay with what you might get as an answer, because it may not always be what you want to hear, which is very hard for me.
Yeah, wait, okay, tell me more about that. So I'm going into the school building and I'm thinking, okay, I want to be a good teacher, a good classroom teacher, but I also am going to make an intentional effort today to be a good staff member for not only my students, but I'm going to be a good staff member for my colleagues and for my leadership team. I'm going to come in, I'm going to be my best that I can be. You're now telling me that there's some questions that are maybe not good to ask.
I don't know that they're not good to ask. I don't think that I think the idea of like, there's no dumb question.
Okay, can we say though, there are dumb questions, right? There are.
1000%.
No, we say that, but come on.
Yes. And I don't know who started that phrase, but it's kind of a big fat lie.
Can we do a little challenge early this morning, getting your brains thinking? For all of you in the comments, we're going to get back to this topic, but really quick, can you put in the comments that question that either students or colleagues or parents or leadership ask that you're like, now hold on, I'm going to answer that, but that's a dumb question.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
My favorite is when people are like, do you have time for this? And I'm always like, well, I mean, no, but because it's you, because of what you're asking, like, I'm going to make time. But when people are like, but do you actually have time for this? Like, what does that mean? I mean, of course I have other things I could do, but I'm going to make this a priority.
I know I do. It's like a general, like, well, can you do this? And it's like, well, I want to say no because my capacity is pretty high. However, you just asked it and you want a different answer than what I want to give you. So
yeah, well, maybe that's what makes some questions like terrible, dumb questions where they ask you something where you're like, that my answer is different than what you want to hear, but I'm going to nicely tell you what you want to hear.
Right. Uh-huh.
All right, yeah. I'm going to wait to see some comments. I want all of you, I'm going to challenge each and every one of you joining us, even if whether you're live with us currently, or if you're listening to this after the fact, or even if you're listening to this as a bonus episode of Teach Better Talk podcast, screenshot that you are watching or listening to this segment. And we want to hear that question that people have asked you before that you're like, that's a dumb question.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's go back to this. So you were saying that there's no dumb question, quote unquote, which is not true, but that there's questions that if you're going to ask something, you need to be prepared to hear the answer. I think that is a good, important life lesson in general, is that you really shouldn't, or you have to be careful asking questions that you don't actually want the answer to.
Well, I think there are so many times that we ask a question because we are not necessarily seeking the right answer, but we're seeking a result, that we have in mind. I mean, every question you ask, you probably have somewhat of an answer in mind. And I think it's a hard pill to swallow when you get something that you weren't either prepared for or something you didn't want to hear. And that can be in all areas. It can be, something small. It can be something big. I know it took me a really long time in education to realize, like, there are systems in place to help students. And, you sit in a meeting and you're like, in my head, I'd always be like, okay, I want this needs to happen. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. Student will have the support they need. And it's like, well, that doesn't work like that because, like, the interventionist is only available this time, or this person's only available at this time. And, you have, kind of speed bumps that have to be crossed. And I think that was something that was really hard. I used to leave a lot of meetings really frustrated because I was like, wait, what do you mean we've got this like red tape? To me, it's like a no-brainer. The student needs help. Let's help them. And it's like, well, that's, it's not just me making that decision. It's this community. And so I think that's, sometimes you have to kind of learn that yes, the goal is getting reached, but maybe it's not on your timeline, or
it's in a different avenue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know that you and a number of different educators, actually, shout out to our blog department, are all publishing blogs on this topic this week. That's actually a new feature for those of you who haven't visited teachbetter.com recently. If you head to teachbetter.com, these themes, these conversations that we're talking about on Daily Drop-In are actually being also discussed in other avenues of the team. So for example, if you head to teachbetter.com/blogs, you're going to be able to see a number of different, not only Daily Drop-In specific reflection blogs from people that have joined us on the show and been a part of these conversations, but also other authors, other guest bloggers that are talking on these themes, these topics. And so it'll be interesting for me, I think, to kind of head to the blog later today. I've had such a busy week, but later today and kind of looking at what are other educators from around the world kind of saying about this topic of the difference of being a good teacher, a good staff member, what responsibility we have to be both or not, and kind of heading into that dialogue. It'll be very, very cool to not only hear from the 4 educators that are a part of our conversation for Daily Drop-In as guests this week, but also just the guest bloggers that are sharing their voice and lending their expertise, which will be really cool.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff. I was kind of scrolling through the other day and it was almost like, oh my gosh, there's like, I got to bookmark that. Or so there's some really good resources, even just like kind of some, just topics just to become more educated on, I think are, just expanding your horizons is always a good thing.
I do have to say, I am really struggling with finding the right way to organize all the content because with what we talked about yesterday, we recommended a podcast, a part of our podcast network. And I went back because I knew I was recommending this podcast. I went back and looked, and there are so many podcasts that I'm like, oh my gosh, Rae, you have to choose like more intentionally to listen to podcasts throughout the day because there's a lot out there that I was finding myself being like, oh, I want to check this one out. Oh, I don't know this author. I want to go check that out. I felt the same way on the blog where I was scrolling through and I'm like, guys, if we're publishing a blog or 2 every single day, then I need to carve out more time in my day to consume. Like,
I know.
I don't know the right way to do that.
Well, I think it's hard because all of our to-do lists are long, all of our plates are filled, but I've been trying to be more intentional. And I know this isn't necessarily where we were going, but I try to be more intentional of like, what are the mindless things I'm doing that I can replace? And it's hard because, you're tired and you're like, I just need some good old Schitt's Creek sometimes in my life of like zoning out, but it's like, can I replace those 10 minutes that I sat down to watch that and read a blog or listen to a podcast or, can I kind of switch some of my extra mindless stuff for something more intentional that requires the same amount of energy? I think that's something that I've been trying to work on, and I'm not super successful, but
I need to figure that out. That's what I need to do. Maybe I'll go through my day today and find those intentional moments of like, when am I playing music in the background? When am I scrolling through Instagram? Oh my God, guys, Reels. That is like a black hole of terribleness. Like how much time was I spending there? Like,
and why do they like connect them so that it just starts auto playing? Because then you're down a dark hole for way longer than you planned. It's like, yeah, I wanted to watch that 1-2 second video and now I'm half hour in. How did that happen?
Well, or even just like, okay, so yesterday turned on a TV show. Well, the episodes just kept going because this was a new series I was starting. So now I'm like 5 episodes in. I'm like, if these are 30-minute episodes, I just spent so much time like sitting and watching TV. Like, I don't necessarily be doing that. Could I have like watched an episode and then paused it and when I was cleaning up the kitchen, throw it on a podcast? Or I have like you guys know that I hate reading. I have like an app on my phone that reads the text out loud to me. I can like pull up a blog and have it read the blog to me. So it's kind of like a podcast in its own way. Yeah. I need to do that because there's so much out there. And I really don't utilize our blog like I should. I really would love to find a way to structure my either my day or my week, probably more realistically my week, of like, I'm going to spend time consuming some of the blogs like on this day, or I don't know.
Yeah, I was really good there for a little bit of, I would kind of force myself to take like 30 minutes to just me time. And so I would, go on a walk or something. And
sorry, it's distracting.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Dana Kirby right now. She is a rock star. Yeah. Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana.
But yeah, just like going on a walk or doing something that it's like, I'm investing in me and, whether it's Teach Better podcast, whether it's a Teach Better blog that's being read aloud, like just what are you doing to kind of fill your own cup, but also have a purpose? I like how Karen said in the comments, she has a morning meeting with herself for PD. I think it's great. It's like a good, good kind of way to just invest in yourself in a positive way.
I also like the mentality behind this. This comment literally, for those of you who are listening and not watching the screen, it literally says, Karen says, I have a morning meeting with myself daily for PD. That to me, that would totally work for me because it would be like an intentional thing on my calendar being like, right this moment, Rae, you're in a meeting, which I feel like that's how I operate. And in this meeting, here's your agenda item. Like, hello. Solution.
Yeah, are you saying that I should give up my jam session to Whitney Houston and instead do morning PD?
Nope, we're not. We're saying that after daily drop-in, if you have some time, Whitney Houston first as a brain break and then get into the PD.
Okay, good. I like to have my dance parties in my kitchen, so don't you take that away from me.
Jody says, today's time listening to the two of you. That's true. Are we morning PD, Katie? I don't know if we're morning PD.
I think so. I mean, I'll take it. Thank you, Jody. Thank you.
The goal in theory would be to be morning PD. Oh, here we go. Always make time for I want to dance with somebody.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for understanding.
I do think morning jam sessions are important. We're not saying to take away the things that you love for professional development, but like you mentioned, like I could totally be listening, reading a blog on a dog walk. Like that is, I mean, yes, it's good to take time away, but it's also good to be like, okay, if I'm taking a 15-minute dog walk, what, reading a blog takes 5 minutes? Like the blogs are super compressed and they have so many different elements. I mean, you could consume that and then still take 10 minutes to yourself.
Absolutely. And I know people have commutes, they're in the car, like just honestly, any time that you're like, I'm doing something mindless for 5, 10, 15 minutes, how could you replace it? Not every time, we all need our jam sessions, but when can you, switch that out? And I mean, we all scroll on our phones on all kinds of platforms. And we all, I mean, let's all admit it, we've all gone down the dark path of you're like, I thought this was 5 minutes and it's been 35. But it's like that, those moments where you're like, I could replace 10 of those minutes to listen to something, read something, do something that will help me grow as a person.
Oh, guys, we all have a lot of challenges and takeaways that we need to consider for today.
We got a busy day for us.
A busy, wonderful, exciting day ahead of us. You are not only going to go be the all-star educator you were already intending to be today, because that's happening regardless, but you're starting your morning with PD because you're tuning into the daily drop-in. So round of applause for all of you. You also are going to walk into your day and have a goal of asking more questions, which is really, really, really wonderful. And hopefully you can spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then choosing to hear from other educators' perspectives by reading a blog at teachbetter.com. Or guys, let's be honest, there's a lot of places for educational blogs. You don't have to go to teachbetter.com. Like, yes, there's a blog or 2 or 3 that's published every single day over there. But to be honest, like Edutopia, I love reading blogs from ASCD. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of places to go learn from other educators, and that's really what this comes down to. It's not about you replacing your Instagram reel wormhole of chaos that you were planning on going down, because we support those crazy moments. But
sometimes we need a good dark hole of just mindless, time burners.
But can you go learn from someone else? I love it. Wait. Is it picture day today?
It is not, but
why is Dana commenting here? Use those 10 minutes to think of a picture day outfit.
So in our building, picture day is not picture day in its traditional sense. In fact, there are more and more staff members that are in full on costume. So Dana Kirby last week was taking her picture and I walked up and there are certain things that have to go off the plate, and coming up with a costume, I'm all about a costume, but there's a lot of pressure for you to have a good costume that's going to go in a kid's yearbook for life. And Dana Kirby, she rocked hers. Last week, her costume was fantastic. I really hope that she posts a picture when it comes out. But all morning, you were literally running into people who it's like, oh, that's a picture day outfit. Yeah, that's not what I had in my elementary book, but.
So you're saying that teachers have on picture day, rather than getting dressed up in their most favorite blouse or button-up shirt,
Yes.
they are getting in like Halloween costumes, and it's tradition, you're saying, during picture day.
Yes, it started with I think when our building opened, it started with a few staff members that knew that they would be next to each other in the alphabet. So they would do stuff like one like put her hair like this, and then it like carried over a bald guy's head. And so it started with that, and now it has literally like transformed where it's like I felt like a minority, and I smiled and had like a normal shirt. Like I was like, hi, I'm a normal teacher. But I mean, our whole team one time dressed up as like ghosts and zombies, and I mean, it might have, Kirby, I don't know, but it's gotten intense. It might have started with our team, but and then the best is like the photographer doesn't know what to do with it, because they take 1,000 pictures of kids that are just like, and then you have a zombie sit down, or you have a cowboy, or one of my team members was a hockey player that had a black eye and a missing tooth. Like people go all out, and it's always so funny because the yearbook, it's like, this is the staff. It's just normal.
Okay, that's awesome. And I just want to say, Kirby, you have my personal phone number. You need to text me a picture of what your outfit looked like, whether it's you in the outfit or what inspired the outfit. I have to know, because I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting for that picture to come out. I am demanding a text message right now, and I will hold up my phone until I get it. I am waiting for the text.
Come on, Kirby.
Come on, Kirby. We have a lot of good comments. I do love, by the way, I know we got off topic here and we have to wrap this up, but I do love like Beth Moore tuning in, saying that she's listening to Daily Drop-In in her car. Like, it's so fun that you guys choose to spend your morning with us, or even if you're choosing to spend your afternoon with us, like because you're listening to this after the fact. We just are so happy that we can be here to be a part of this. And she just texted me. Best day ever. Oh my goodness, the shenanigans on this show. Katie, do you have anything special going on for you today that you're excited to walk into? I mean, it's bright and early in the morning. You're going to head to school here in just a minute, and you're going to be working with your students. How's life?
Oh my gosh, today is kind of a crazy day. We have a different schedule. We've got advisory. I am working on blogging with my students, which is fun that we talked about it this morning. My students are writing blogs. So we've got that. I've been doing a lot of manipulatives in math so that they learn how to collaborate with each other and kind of, persevere. And so we've been talking about some of those things. So this week has been so fun, but man, am I tired at the end of the day. So I'm grateful it's Thursday, but I'm excited to get this day started. And yeah.
Well, and for the teacher that needs to hear it, we'll just take an intentional moment. Don't you feel like shorter weeks are the hardest weeks?
Yes, because I don't know about other people. Please tell me that I'm not the only person. I feel like I spend a lot of time trying to figure out what day of the week it is.
Right.
Yes. So, yes.
Happy Thursday to everyone. Thursday, September 9th. Friday is tomorrow. You are doing well, people. You are doing well.
You're awake. You're going to make a difference in someone's life, and you're going to put a smile on someone's face. That's the goal today.
Yes. Katie, you put a smile on my face. Thanks for joining Daily Drop-In.
Well, thank you for having me. It is always a treat to start bright and early at 6 a.m. with Rae Heward and the Teach Better family. I always love, the comments kind of fuel us. Not that our conversation doesn't, but it's always kind of fun to just see who joins us in the morning and get our day started, get me some energy. Because, at this point, usually I would be doing someone's hair or getting a small human dress. So this feels more purposeful.
Well, we really appreciate all of you that chose to join in for Daily Drop-In this morning. As you guys know, we're live every single morning, Monday through Friday. Feel free to pop in whenever it works for your schedule. We just want to be here to share some food for thought, but also some positivity, some laughter. All of you participating in the comments really made today so wonderful. So thank you for all that you do. Katie, it's always good to chat with you, and I will just like leave all of our family with this little insight that we have a project that we're working on that we're excited to release to the family in October. So Teach Better family members, stay tuned. There's some fun things coming that Katie and I are getting to collaborate on. Shout out to Andrea, who's helping us our collaboration like come together into something.
Yes. Thank you, Andrea, for all your, man, she's like doing all of the stuff to keep us on track.
Can we talk about that really quick? I know we have to go, but okay. I worked a full day yesterday, and then I woke up this morning at 4:30 in the morning to like 3,000 messages from Andrea about this project that we're talking about. Yep. And I don't understand like when she got this done. Like when was she working? I
don't either. She's amazing because I felt like I was working late and it was like, like 9 o'clock Central Time. So the fact that I also woke up to the same thing, I was like, she is magical.
Yeah. Andrea, we're putting a rule in place that you can't work like past a certain point because waking up, I literally woke up and was like, I must be dreaming. Like, there's no way that I went to bed late. There's no way Andrea did work after I was asleep. And there was like a million messages.
I know. I was so impressed. Andrea, you're amazing. You inspired me to like be more productive after my own kids go to bed. So thank you for the motivation because tonight might look different because of that.
I'm so glad that you're able to share the positivity in that. Andrea, I'm the opposite. Shame on you. Stop working. Cut it out.
All right. Andrea, I'm trying to help you.
For everyone else, we love you. We hope you have a wonderful day. We hope you enjoy your last sip of coffee. I have about a sip and a half left. So I didn't perfectly time this out, but please go enjoy your coffee. Thank you for all that you do. We will see you tomorrow morning with Brad Hughes, wrapping up the conversation, pulling us into our upcoming weekend. Good luck with the rest of your day. Katie, good to see you and more to come. So thanks, guys.
Thanks.